Welcome to Be Bold Branding.
I'm Tanya Eberhardt, founder of BrandFace, where we teach real estate agents how to differentiate themselves, and we do that through personal branding.
And I'm Michael Carr, the founder and CEO of Michael Carr and Associates, and lucky enough to be partners with this lady in BrandFace. And we do Fearless Friday episodes to teach real estate agents how to take the fear out of putting themselves out there. So welcome to Fearless Friday.
And we have somebody on with us today that's going to tell you how fearless she is about putting herself out there. Her name is Phyllis Rodriguez, and she is from Ridgecrest, California. She is a BrandFace agent. So Phyllis, welcome to Fearless Friday.
Hi, thanks Tanya, thanks Michael. I'm happy to be here.
So tell us, Phyllis, what got you into real estate in the first place, and how long have you been in real estate?
I've always felt like real estate was what I thought about. I didn't really necessarily recognize it as wanting to be a real estate agent, but even early on in my 20s, I saw them building condos that I knew were student housing, and I thought we should buy one of those. So, you know, it's always been there. But I got my license 20 years ago. I was prompted to do so because we had a transaction where we sold our house, and I wasn't real happy with the way that the agent took advantage, I believe, of our lack of information. And rather than educating us on what we needed to do, she took advantage of that and profited from our ignorance. So I felt like there needed to be somebody out there who was transparent, who was honest, and who would give people the information they needed so they didn't go away feeling cheated.
That's fantastic.
It sure is. It sure is.
That's as good a reason I've ever heard to get into the business, you know.
Well, and being the honest person that I am, I felt like I was perfect for the part.
Yeah. Okay, well, let me segue into this then. Why did you come into the BrandFace program? What made you do that?
Okay, so I did a little bit of research, and I am part of a mastermind group, and one of the things they talked about was branding, and I didn't really know much about branding other than there are, you know, brands out there. When somebody says, hand me a Kleenex, that's actually a facial tissue, but Kleenex has branded themselves to where they are the name that comes out. So that's how I understood branding. And as far as real estate goes, there are large companies that, if mentioned by name, everyone would know because they've branded themselves. And I thought if they can gain that kind of momentum simply by branding, then that's what I need to do.
Well, in keeping with today's topic, Fearless Friday, was there anything you were afraid of coming into the program, being, you know, branded, quote, for the first time?
Yes, I was afraid I wouldn't be able to figure out what differentiated me. I knew, but I didn't know how to put it down into thoughts and into words. I didn't know how to say, this is what you need, and this is what I offer, and that's why you need to work with me. So it was really great the way the program is set up to make you dig deep, to look at the things deeper than just, this is who I am and this is what I do. But the questions and the preparation that is offered as you begin the BrandFace program helped me to really think about deeply who I am and what I wanted to project. So that helped me to overcome that fear. But I was afraid I wouldn't know what to say, what to do, how to brand myself. Who am I?
Yeah, a lot of people tell us that. That is probably the number one concern they have coming into it is, I don't know what makes me any different. That's why I'm here.
So let's talk about your brand since we're here. What is your brand? Tell everybody your brand identifier.
Okay, so I'm Phyllis Rodriguez, your empowerment agent. And that means I empower buyers and sellers with the education and information that they need to make sound, successful decisions for themselves and the people that they love.
That is fantastic.
Bravo, Phyllis. Fantastic. That was your elevator pitch. Yep. I know that one like the back of my hand. Well, tell us a little bit about how it fits you, how you feel it fits you.
Well, again, if we go back to what I originally said, I felt like one of the transactions we did, we were just uninformed. We had never sold a home before. We bought that home, and that was our first home. We had never sold a home before, and we didn't quite know the ins and outs of all of it. And we were in a situation where we had relocated to another state, and there was just all sorts of things that were difficult about that. experience that could have been so much better if we had had just a little bit of help, a little bit of information. So what I like to do that makes me an empowerment agent is I like to help people with those moving parts, whether they're moving across town or moving here from out of state. We have a military base here, a naval base, and a lot of people come and go here that are
Transient?
they're coming into town, they're transferring with the Navy, and they're coming here with their entire family, and they're leaving with their entire family. And a lot of times it's kids that are in elementary school, high school, and the wife has a job and the husband works for the base, or the wife works for the base and the husband has a job. So when they relocate, there are a lot of moving parts. And one of the things I like to do is take some of the stress and the difficulty out of the move by giving them the names of the schools, the phone numbers to call, jobs that fit the skill set of the spouse that's looking for work. Anything and everything that they could possibly need to know when they come here, because that way they can just put it on their little moving to do, and they've got the information. As soon as they land in the new city, boom, open it up, start calling, and they're all organized. And it really does relieve a lot of stress to have a system in place to be organized. So I love to empower people with those things so that they have less to think about as they're already thinking about the movers and the packers and how their kids are going to emotionally adjust to finding new friends and, you know, starting a new job. Will I fit in? Will my boss like me? All of those things are enough to worry about. So I like to empower them with information and take that off their plate.
Okay, awesome. Well, what I want to do is I want to show just a little sample of how your brand all came together with some of the visual things.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show just a few designs for Facebook cover photos that we did for you. So everybody can see some of the branding that we have out there for you. And if that's not empowering people, I don't know what is.
Absolutely.
What a great photo. It's just so full of life and energy. And it says empowerment agent, has those beautiful mountains behind you. And then the color, that pop of color that you have on today, thank you for being brand consistent, looks fantastic. And that's one image. And keep in mind, guys, those of you who are watching this and have not been through our branding program, this is just a tiny little slice of a brand. Obviously, on the Facebook page that this image goes on, you'll be able to read more about her brand messaging, which is clearly communicating what sets her apart rather than just judging everything based on this visual. But this is just a great example. Here's another one. And this story I love, Phyllis. You told us that billboard had been up for at least 10 years. You passed it so often. Tell the rest of the story.
Oh, longer than that, I think. Yeah.
So yeah, as far as I know, it's always been there forever, but it's been there since we got here. And we were actually heading out of town for I don't know if we were going to the airport or driving, but we were on our way out of town for at least a week. And as we're driving by, I said, hey, I need to grab a shot of that billboard while we're sitting right here. And Ron's like, well, grab it on the way back. And I said, no, really, just pull over. And so he pulled over and I took a shot of this billboard, and it's right at the exit to go into Ridgecrest off of the 395. Anyway, we went away on our trip and we came back and that billboard was gone.
Wow.
They had replaced it with a furniture store advertisement. So if we had waited to come back and take the picture, it wouldn't have been there. So that really was my only chance. And that kind of leads into one of the mottos I've adopted that we talked about earlier. The time is now. Don't put off things. You know, now is when to do it. If you feel like doing it right now, do it right now.
Absolutely.
A very good lesson, a very good lesson. I just wanted you to share that because I did remember that there's another one, another beautiful mountain backdrop.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, yeah, mine too. Mine too. That one and the other mountain one.
Yeah.
And then this one as well. It shows one of the gorgeous homes in your area. So that's just a little snippet of imagery from the brand Phyllis. And I just wanted to share everybody that with everybody, because I think that's so powerful and it really goes hand in hand with your empowerment agent brand. So, so when you were going through this process, what was the easiest part of the branding process for you?
Actually, the easiest part was the photo shoot, and I'm not a fan of having my picture taken or being on video even, but a friend of mine once said, "That's what you look like. That's what we all see. Get over it." So I did that, but my son is a professional photographer for a big company. So I talked him into doing it for me. And some of the instructions were, have fun with this and just be yourself and whatever. Well, I'm a very laughing, dancing, happy-go-lucky person. And so this was like 2.5-hour photo shoot with him. And about halfway through, and if you saw some of those pictures where I'm,
I did.
and halfway through, he's like, "Mom, they don't all have to be dance poses, really." So I must have really been.
I love it.
So it was a lot of fun. It was fun working with him. It was fun having that done. So that was the best part for me.
Oh, that's great. You will, when people go through the program, they'll get the photos done, and they'll also send the whole gallery of photos to us, and we kind of help narrow down that final 10. It was hard because you had a lot of great ones. They were so full of energy. So tell your son everything's just fine.
Oh, yeah.
He's not as crazy as he thinks.
Well, you have to be who you are. That's who I am.
Yes,
yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
Well, that's so important in the photo shoot because we work really hard at capturing the essence of who somebody is because it has to go along with the rest of your content. And so speaking of content, like what was the hardest part of the program when you went through it? To you, what was the thing that made it the hardest?
Back to what we were talking about in discovering our brand, doing the homework, doing the assignments, really looking at yourself. A lot of times we worry about what people think about us, but we never really think about what we think about ourselves. Mm-hmm. And that was the hardest part, was digging into, what do you think about yourself? Who do you see yourself as? If you were to come across yourself today as a real estate agent and interview yourself, what would you find? And that was the hard part, was just digging down. Do I want to see what I would find?
Well, that brings us perfectly to the next question. How does your brand, once it's all pulled together, how does it make you feel?
One of the best things about branding myself is it gave me confidence. It gave me, it grounded me in understanding who I really am. As you take a look at yourself, as you really, truly picture talking to yourself and doing business with yourself from the other side, you begin to see what it is you want other people to see, and you project that. And it really helped me a lot to be able to say, this is who I am. This is what I stand for. This is what I stand against. And this is what I'm giving you. And it really helps me to be able to say that with confidence.
Yeah, that's really fantastic. That's the favorite part of what we love about helping agents and other business owners and entrepreneurs is doing that. Like so many times when we do a bio for somebody, and you've heard me say this so many times, Phyllis, but they're like, "That's me," and I'm like, "Yes, it's you, because y'all gave us that information." But we're not trained to do that. We're not trained necessarily to look into ourselves, like you said, and sort of size up your life experiences and how that brought you to where you are. You're the empowerment agent, and you very clearly wear that so well because you were in a situation, in a life experience where you did not feel empowered, and you thought, you know what, this is something I'm going to bring. It's the whole reason that you're in the industry, and then your brand projects that in everything that you do. And you're right. Seeing people get discovered like that is amazing, because there's a diamond in there with all of us. And of course, yours was easier to find than a lot of people. So you had already had a good chance.
Well,
that's right.
I have been accused of nobody having to guess what I'm thinking.
Well, that's another point. When you say it made you feel so much more confident, sometimes people take that negatively when we're talking to them for the very first time. They said, no, I don't lack confidence. It's like, no, neither does Phyllis, right?
Yeah, right.
Phyllis does not lack confidence. You can see that, but it's just a surprising how much more confident they feel in ways that they didn't realize they were not confident before.
Yes.
Right.
Those ways that set us apart. So talk to us about that. How's your brand set you apart, and how's it helped you secure your business?
Well, it sets me apart in that it gives me the ability to say, this is who I am, and feel it inside of me. You know, you have to really believe what you're saying. It's fine to be scripted. People in Hollywood are scripted, but people in Hollywood who make money that are scripted are good at believing what they're saying.
That's
And
right.
they want us to believe what they're saying. So you need to feel it in your heart. It has to really be genuine. And so it has helped me a lot with confidence and being more genuine. It also has helped me to realize, you know, I think we mentioned earlier on about Kleenex. You know, people, you say, hand me a Kleenex, they really mean a facial tissue. And Kleenex has branded themselves to where, you know, hand me a Coke. It's a soda.
Yeah.
And see, that's what I want to be. I want to, somebody moves into town and says, hey, who do I call to buy a house? Instead of saying XYZ or the big company over on Broad Street, ABC, you know, all these people with big names. And that's one of the things that really stuck out to me is the people who are huge corporations are brands. Call, you know, so-and-so, because that's the name that rolls off the tongue. This is the big company in town. We have 10 big companies and this is one of them. Well, I want to be branded so that when somebody rolls into town and says, who should we call? You need to call Phyllis Rodriguez, your empowerment agent. And that's what my brand does for me, is it helps me to be the person, not the company. I've always believed that, yeah, I'm either building my own company or I'm building someone else's. And quite frankly, if I'm going to be putting my hard time and money into something, it's going to be myself, not somebody else's company.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, it's funny where there is a, I just want to segue this, there's a little dichotomy between a lot of agents and bigger companies. A lot of times we're not putting them down. Bigger companies have their place, but it's interesting to me how people don't realize you are building your own business. Like you, even if you work underneath a broker, you can work for my brokers, you're building your bank of business. And that's so important. And you need to stand apart for that. That you need to be the one that is recognized. So that's fantastic. You know, and that is a realizable goal. And people don't realize how obtainable that goal is for when people come into town, into Ridgecrest, that they could very well say, no, you need to go see Phyllis. He's your empowerment agent. And that will roll off the tongue of people in all your constituents that see you in town and the works that you do and the advertising that you put out there, because you stay consistent to that brand. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Right. And even in one of those bigger companies, those branded companies, somebody walks in the door or somebody calls on the phone and says, they don't say, hi, I want to talk to your best agent. They say, hey, I've been given the name of so-and-so. So even branding yourself within another brand, as long as you're consistent with who you are and what they're looking for, because they're not looking for the guy that owns the big company. They're not looking for Warren Buffett to sell them a house.
Right.
They're looking for you. Did I say that out loud? Was that my outside voice?
It's okay. It's a great point, though.
I warned you that people don't have to wonder what I'm thinking.
You did. You warned. We've been duly warned. Okay, so let's get down to brass tacks, Phyllis. A lot of people out there want to know, okay, does this stuff really work? Does this branding really work? Do you really get more clients, and does your business really grow with a personal brand, you know, defined, developed, and displayed?
Okay, well, to answer that, my numbers from January to June, I joined a year ago in June. So from January to June of 2018, my sales were just over $1 million in closed properties. By the end of 2018, it was over 3.1 million. So I almost tripled my business in just that 6-month period. And of course, the qualifier here is you can't just develop a brand and have your picture taken any more than you can just stick a sign in the yard. You have to act on who you believe you are and who you have branded yourself to become. You have to go out there and put yourself out there and say, this is who I am, and you have to believe yourself so that other people will believe you. And that's what makes it work. So it's not so much what branding gives to you, it's more what you give back to the brand.
Oh,
And that's what makes it.
We could not have said that better, Phil.
We could not. That's a quotable Phyllis moment right there. That's awesome.
It sure is. It sure is. You know, we try to get that point across by saying, you know, your brand is the message. It's what you advertise. It's your why. Why do business with me? But if you don't put it out there and market it in some way, it's kind of like setting up for this elaborate birthday party and never sending out any invitations. Guess who's going to
wondering why nobody came?
Right.
That's very well said, Phil.
Yes. Well, it is a numbers game. Like everything really is truly a numbers game, right? But what's very important about those numbers games is the memory of it. And like you said, and the consistency of defining who you are and displaying that, developing that and then displaying that, and then holding true to that over time, over the course of time, is how you end up being the Kleenex and not just a facial napkin, right? Because it does stick, and it's memorable and it's different, and then, you know, there's other portions of that builds the character of who you are, and explains to people why they want to do business with you. That's very important. Yeah, very important, because that we know we live in an era now where people are checking us out long before they ever call us or text us or email us or even talk to us. They've already formulated an idea of who they think we are, and we need that best foot to be forward every time. So
they've already gone on Facebook and they know what you look like. They know who you are. They know if you're me, they know how many grandkids you have and how often you see them and what they look like and how many horses and cows and whatever, you know, they know all that stuff.
That's right. They do. Exactly.
All right, I'm a rescuer, so there's a lot of horses, and there's a horse and a lot of dogs on mine.
There you go. Well, I know it's also one of your dreams and goals. We'll get to that. Let me ask you a question right quick, though. There are a lot of real estate agents out there, you know, they're in the business and they're churning, they're working hamster wheel, and they want to, you know, but they're afraid to put themselves out there. What would Phyllis tell them about that?
Well, in order to be successful, I mean, think about this for just 1 minute. If you want somebody to know who you are, do you go into a room and shut the door and hope they knock on it? Or do you open the door? Do you walk out and do you say, this is who I am? Do you need my services? I mean, which in those two scenarios do you think is the person who's going to get the attention, the business?
Right.
You can have the most scoundrelistic person in the world saying, hey, come do business with me, and the most honest person sitting behind the door with the door shut. Scoundrel's going to get the business.
That's right.
You got that right. You got that right. That's why when we say, a lot of times we're in this, what we call the real estate sea of sameness, because there's so many real estate agents out there, and many of them are marketing exactly the same way, you know, right down to scripts and templates that people are giving them to use. And that really confuses a lot of the public, because they don't really know who to choose then when everybody kind of looks the same. Then somebody like Phyllis comes along and you've got that, wow, what's that? Empowerment agent. That's awesome. It's memorable. It sticks. It's purposeful. It's powerful. All of those things make people remember you, if nothing else. And that's only the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. And my friend, to quote my friend, we live in an ocean of mediocrity. And the thing I never want to be is mediocre. I don't want to be the average guy who you could find 10 of by throwing a rock. I want to be the person that you have to actually, as you look up and elevate yourself, that's where I am. I'm elevating you. You know, rising tide raises all ships. I want to be the one raising all the ships. I want to be the one giving people the opportunity to become their best selves and to have the easiest transition that there is in home sales and home buying.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And you know, there's so much more in the empowerment that you do too, because we know it's been proven, we know real estate is the way. Like if you want to build wealth in America, no matter what size wealth that is, it is in real estate, period. Period, period, period.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, buy and buy as much as you possibly can comfortably afford. But you should own a piece of real estate because it's going to go up in value, and it works for you when you're sleeping, and it's something you can have pride in. And so your empowerment brand, empowers people towards not just towards the betterment of themselves and the transaction and how that transaction is going to go compared to others, but also in the fact that you're pointing them in the direction of wealth building, which is very important. Yeah, very good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, and coming through all of this, Phyllis, your spirit's so beautiful. And, I know one of the things that you've been doing on the side when you have some time is you make cosmetic bags for a women's shelter. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so it's a fairly recent thing. I went down to the women's shelter because I had some clothes that I wanted to donate. And they said, well, we don't do that. We have a list of things that our actual needs for our women. So they gave me this list. And one of the things on it was cosmetics, mascara, eyeliner, hairbrushes, lip gloss, those kinds of things. And I thought, well, who wants to just be handed a tube of mascara, And I have this, I used to make handbags. And so I have this pattern. I'm going to just show you real quick.
Oh, yeah, please.
For this little bag. And it just has a little zipper. It's not anything big. And now when someone hands you your cosmetics, they're not just handing you a roll of mascara and eyeliner and here's a handful of lipstick, This is a pretty little thing that you can keep your stuff in, and it just feels more significant. And they didn't ask for that, but I thought about if it were me and I were feeling that downtrodden and having those kinds of challenges, and somebody just handed me a tube of mascara, would that help lift me up? And I thought it might a little. It would certainly help me feel better than without it. But how much better is it to have something beautiful given to you as a gift to tell you this is your value, this is what you're worth. And especially in those kinds of situations when there's abused women and abused children, giving them back their worth, giving them back their hope is extremely, extremely valuable in my opinion.
Yeah.
It is. And what a beautiful extension of your empowerment brand. I mean, think about that for a minute. When you say lift these women up, that's empowering. And that just, that goes to show that the match of that brand identifier of empowerment agent to you as a human being was just such a perfect match, because it's all through you. It's all through you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and we're talking about Fearless Friday. One of the things that I didn't mention is that I got my license in 1999, but I've also had licenses in 4 states now because of relocations. And anybody who's been in real estate knows how difficult it is to start a real estate business. Mm-hmm. What they may not know is how difficult it is to start it 4 times. And of course, it gets a little easier each time because you kind of have the system down. But getting connected to a community is not an easy thing. And that's what it's about, is you want to be connected to people. You don't want to do business with XYZ. You want to do business with so-and-so who's a really good person or who someone recommended. And so connecting to a community, starting over again, building a whole new database of clients and building a reputation of being trustworthy is not an easy thing. And it can scare you to start over again. It takes time, it takes money, it takes effort. So one of the things I would say is don't let fear hold you back from being who you really are. I have had so many opportunities during the day when something happened or when we moved again, and how hard it was to ground myself back in here and finding out that so-and-so ended up getting the listing ultimately or whatever because so-and-so knew them. And that was really an opportunity for me to look at the real situation. A couple of my favorite books are The Adversity Advantage and Failing Forward. John Maxwell wrote Failing Forward. Paul Stoltz and Eric Weinmayer wrote the book The Adversity Advantage. And he's Eric was a keynote speaker 13 years ago at a conference I attended. He went blind at age 13 and since has climbed the 7 highest peaks in the world.
Wow.
and taken blind Tibetan children climbing the highest peak in Tibet.
Wow.
So, but they talk about being alchemists, about taking fear and converting it into energy and finding the gold that is inside of you. And that's what I would say. Push through your fear, turn it into energy, and let it help refine and alchemize you into the gold that you really are.
That is fantastic, Phyllis.
We cannot possibly end on a better note than that, Phil. That's incredible. That's incredible.
Thank you.
You know, is there anything else you want to share with the audience?
I love this. I love this business. I love who I've become because of my brand. Who I've been able to see that I already was because of my brand, and the things I can now feel confident in offering to my clients. So thank you, Tanya, and thank you, Michael, for making this beautiful business and giving agents this opportunity. I think it's fantastic. I really do appreciate it.
You're going to make us both cry, Phyllis, or at least me.
Grab a facial tissue. Grab a facial tissue.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. What a heartfelt interview, and what a beautiful person you are. I mean, thank you for showing up on every webinar almost. I mean, for now, you're incredible. Thank you for all your support and this you've shown toward us. And gosh, we'll have you back again for sure, but congratulations on all your success. And everybody,
thanks for having me on.
You're so welcome. Everybody can see where that success comes from. It's from your heart, Phyllis. So keep going. Keep going.
Okay.
And I'll let Michael close us out today.
Okay, folks, if anybody has, if you have a brand or think you have a brand out there and you want to discuss that, or you want to talk about it or see what your next steps might be, you can reach out to us at discussyourbrand.com. So keep that in mind, discussyourbrand.com. And then this is, I've learned this is one of Phyllis's favorite parts too. I always end all of our workshop webinars that we have with our attendees and clients with prosperity favors the bold, folks. So be bold, especially with your brand.
Thanks again, Phil. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.